Hey everyone, it's Chase here, and I want to welcome you out to the first ever Almost Fiction Aftershow. Now, I want to get some things out of the way real quick. First of all, this is going to be the first one, but it's going to correspond with episode 2 of season 3. I was out of town for a while, and my brain is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing that it works, and it's a curse that doesn't work very well sometimes. But that still works out for me anyways, because once I finish a case, once I edit it, get it out there, it just leaves my mind. There's certain things I remember, there's certain, details and aspects that will always stick with me about certain cases, but for the most part, they're gone. And I know that sounds really weird, but, all our brains are different. At least that's what I've been told. So, I don't remember much of the first episode, honestly. And I know that sounds really weird. And it just is what it is. The other thing I want to clear up is that these are going to be mostly uncut as much as I can. So there's going to be a lot of pauses, a lot of awkwardness, and a lot of weird faces from me because I'm just a weird person. So, this is going to be the first episode of the Almost Fiction After Show. I'm going to try better to look at the camera. So this is episode 2, and it is about Veronica Paz and Dante Perry. So you've already listened to the episode. You already know what it's about. But it's just crazy to me that some people hold on to high school so much. It becomes everything about them. They miss everything. They miss the social aspect. They miss being around a lot of people all day. And it's different than work, right? We can all agree that going to high school is much different than work because if your high school experience was like mine, you didn't really even have to try. I'm not saying I'm smart. I'm just saying that there are a lot of high schools where it's really easy to coast by. It's really easy to just get those grades good enough to keep people off your back, right? And to just kind of not more or less have fun in high school, because I know a lot of people didn't have fun in high school. I was one of those people for a long time. But, high school is just, it was easy for a lot of people. I know for some people it's not so easy, but a lot of people miss that. They miss not having to be to work. They miss not having work deadlines, even though, homework and work, that's different. But there's just a lot of things people miss about high school. For me, there's not a lot. Not a lot. I don't really miss high school a lot, other than life just was easier for me in high school, and that's not always the case because people have bullies, people have all sorts of things, but I was blessed to be 6 foot, 270 pounds as a freshman in high school, so I didn't get a lot of bullying. So I know that's not the case. I know a lot of people that got bullied really bad in high school, and for them, high school sucks, but that doesn't mean it sucks for everybody. So Veronica Paz, Dante Perry, right? Veronica was the epitome of just wishing she was back in high school, it feels like. Now, I don't know her. I don't know any of the people involved. But from what it looks like, and just, judging people's actions, which we all do, whether we like to admit it or not, it just seemed like she was missing kind of the clickiness and being in charge mostly. It's just, there's some people that they just have their group and they're the ones in charge. I was not that person. Shout out to Ramsey. You were that person. The person who just kind of is actually, they're actually, this is the word I need. I need to be more of that. Assertive, right? If people what do we want to do for lunch? There's every good friend group has that person that it's just well, let's just go do this. And then they go do it, because some people are so undecisive. I am undecisive. And so it's nice to have that person kind of make decisions for you, I guess. And I think Veronica was that person. I think she was the person who made the decisions for her friend group. She was the person who led that friend group. And some people just don't have, unlike my friend Ramsey, some people, miss that, and it was part of their personality. Like, they took it into themselves and made it a piece of their personality to be in charge instead of just being a decisive person. And, Veronica felt like that kind of person. She missed being in charge. She missed telling people what to do. She missed the control she had almost. But that all comes with a price, I guess. Because when it's gone, she felt like there was nothing else, right? She was stuck in a boring job. She was working at a grocery store part-time. Like, nothing wrong with working at a grocery store, but I mean, we've all had those part-time jobs where it's just like, yeah, I probably don't want to do this forever. I'm doing this for a paycheck. I'm doing this to pay rent. I'm doing this for gas, whatever. And she was doing that for her family, which I applaud her for that. She's helping her family pay the bills. But at the same time, I think it can get depressing if you see other people, especially going to college, going off and doing other things, that it can be really hard if you feel like you're left behind. And so it just can be really almost lonely when it feels like everyone else is doing things that you wish you could do, but you aren't doing those things. So instead of maybe finding other friends or deciding to maybe find a better job, maybe decide to make plans to go to school, she instead decides to try to relive her glory days. And when I was younger, we called those super seniors, or super seniors, however many years removed from high school you were. When you're still trying to get in, like, do high school things. Like, you're still trying to go to football games. You're still trying to go to, like, school sponsored stuff. Like, just weird. Don't do it. If that's you, stop. Get help. Just stop. So she goes and gets a new boyfriend that she works with. He's still in high school. And she really wanted that connection because he was, captain of the wrestling team. He was, popular at school. He had his Letterman jacket, all those things. And she sees that as an opportunity. So they start dating. You listen to the episode. And next thing you know, it's embarrassing. And because of that, her new boyfriend doesn't really want to be around her anymore, and is basically using her, which is really shitty, really bad. Sorry for my potty mouth, but it's really bad. And Diego is just not, he just wants to be a kid. Like, he just wants to be in high school and hang out with his high school friends and not have to worry about anything else but high school. And then college, and then, he has plans, he is going somewhere, and from the outside looking in, if you're looking at Veronica, it's like she's not really going anywhere, she's stuck, and she's dating someone in high school still. And so even high school students can kind of realize, hey, like, you don't belong here anymore, like, it's our time now, it's not your time. And Veronica gets really pissed off about that. And so we've all had friends that their significant other has basically just been the worst. Like, using them, abusing them, just not a very nice person. And that's kind of how a lot of these people in this story are, including, not to speak ill of the deceased, but Diego. He's just a kid. He's just living his life. But, he is using Veronica for sex. There's no other way to put it. So it's like, that's his hookup. That's his booty call. That's what we called it in high school. But, that's all he sees in her is just an object, which is disgusting. Like, people are people, not objects. So, everyone's kind of using each other in this group. Brandon Perry's just kind of the hanger-on. He's kind of probably feeling the same way a little bit as Veronica. So you have 3 people who are basically all using each other, except, Brandon and Diego aren't. They're on the opposite ends of that spectrum, but everyone's using each other, and then, people, that's not a way to live, and people are eventually going to get angry. They're going to get depressed. They're going to feel used. They're going to, all those things. And Veronica got angry, which is normal. That's what people do. People get angry. The problem is that the overreaction getting angry, right? It's one thing to just say, hey, I never want to talk to you again, I never want to do this. And then the person who probably should have also said, hey, let's just leave this dude alone, was Brandon. But a lot of time in relationships, people kind of feed off of each other. I had a friend who had a on-again, off-again, on-again, off-again, on-again, off-again relationship, and she was the worst. I'm not going to name names, but they just treated each other like trash. But they also felt the need to fight for each other, like that's my man, that's my woman, when people would talk bad about them, even though they themselves had just been talking bad about the person right before, like cheating, they were cheating on each other. All this stuff is just guess what? You guys probably shouldn't be together. There's sometimes some relationships are pure toxicity, and they just need to be left alone. That's it. They just need to be left alone. And that's not what happened. Veronica and Brandon make up a plan, and I honestly think both of them were involved in it. I don't think one was the natural ringleader. I think that Veronica had more going on upstairs, which probably makes her a little more culpable. With great responsibility comes great power, or that's wrong. It's the other way around. But, I think that the person who's probably got a little bit more going for them upstairs is probably a little more culpable. They're a little more able to see the consequences in the future and ignore them. And so you have these 2 people who are in this toxic relationship. They think they love each other. They don't. They think they love each other. And so they have this mutual enemy that they've both created, right? Veronica's done all sorts of things to Diego and vice versa. And there's just a lot of, just another toxic relationship. And her and Brandon decide to make a plan, which they did. As much as their lawyers try to say it was the other person, they were both involved. They both knew what was coming. They both knew what they were doing. I think. Remember, this is my opinions. This is why you're here, is for my opinions, whether they're trash or not. I think that they both knew what they were doing, knew what they were getting into, and then once they had done it, there's that instant regret. With regret comes consequences, and when you don't want to deal with those consequences, you have to try to put those consequences onto someone else's shoulders. And that's what I think they did. Brandon flipped first, basically. He went first, and he got his deal. He got his deal of the possibility of parole, right? That's what he wanted. The dude's going to be 40-something when he gets out, but he still gets out. So Veronica goes to trial. Brandon testifies against her. Not super clear in the podcast, but Veronica is found guilty. Obviously, there was no who did this. It was just why. That was it. It was, why did you do this? And who had the most culpability? So we know who did it. It was Brandon and Veronica. It was just Brandon pulled the trigger, but I think that to a point, Veronica, Veronica just kind of pushed him into it a lot of it. Sorry, the camera's reversed. And it takes 2 to tango. He was complicit, she was complicit, At any point, either one of them could have went to police. At any point, either one of them could have called it off. And, like, Veronica never said that she tried to call it off. She just played I don't know what was going on, even though our friends testified that we both bought the bullets, we both took the gun out practicing, we both knew how to shoot it. Like, at any point in time, go to the police. And, like, there is something to say about being intimidated, but she never claimed that Brandon had threatened her. Like, she never claimed that he was, like, basically holding her hostage, never claimed any of that. And so I think because of all of that, it's kind of clear that they were both culpable. There was a little more on the appeals. She did appeal. The case was almost overturned. No, it was overturned because of the judge had said something weird when he was addressing the jury at one point. And some of that stuff kind of bothers me when it's like it had no bearing on the case. Like, she was already, I'm pretty sure they had already found her guilty, but it came down to sentencing the judge. There was like a miscommunication. The judge had said something to the jury that was not clear. And because of that, it was a mistrial. Like, I don't even want to know how much money one misspoken sentence could have potentially costed because we already know that Veronica ended up taking a deal before her second trial was to begin. She got the same deal Brandon did. So, like, the jury knew who was guilty. The jury, like, there was none of that. It wasn't like the jury was like, oh, because we were misinformed, we made a poor decision. No, it was nothing remotely similar to that. It was just the judge said something confusing. The jury wasn't confused by it, but in the transcripts, it appears confusing. And so it's like, okay, let's just throw out everything for what? And people are going to be like, well, that's part of the law. And I understand when things are said that can mislead the jury and they weren't given the correct things, then that's a problem. But everyone in the jury afterwards came out and said, oh yeah, we weren't confused at all by that. Like, we knew exactly what was going on. Like, it wasn't confusing to us. Like, the judge was able to make it clear to us at the time. And, you know, a lot of them didn't agree with giving Veronica Paz, you know, no life without parole. And they didn't. So, I mean, she had parole. And because they didn't agree to some of the things, because Brandon wasn't being super honest, like, he was trying to make it seem like he was completely faultless when he wasn't. He was led into things, I think, but at the same time, he could have turned around at any point. Like, things were kind of made very simple for him, and he was kind of led by the nose to things, but at the same time, at any point, he could have just went like, you know what? Nah, I'm not doing this no more. Like, this isn't worth it. My life is more important. And so the retrial, instead of having a retrial, which would have cost a ton of money, like, let's be honest, like, that money can better be used in communities. So she says, yep, I did it. And in exchange, she was given the possibility of parole. Now, I can't find anything on where, I'm sure someone can find it in like 5 seconds, because that's just my luck, but I couldn't find anything stating whether or not they were still in jail. I think Brandon is for sure, but I'm not sure about Veronica. So, kind of scary, right? Someone who participated in a murder, didn't pull the trigger, but planned it, helped try to cover it up, didn't say anything until she thought she was going to be blamed for it, could be out there again. And yeah, people can change, but also, I'd rather be prepared. It's kind of like if you carry like a pen or a pencil every day, it's like you would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And that applies to, that's a very, you hear it in the gun community a lot, but we're not here to talk about that stuff. So it's just, yeah, this case was just, I mean, very cut and dry, but it was still intriguing, right? I mean, love triangle, high school sweethearts, football stars, wrestling stars, fights at parties, and then Brandon, like, he had been, I mean, speaking of that, Brandon had been just kind of a dick. Pardon my language again. But he was, like, going out of his way to, like, give Diego problems. And there was one other instance that I didn't put in the podcast because I couldn't really verify if it happened or not, if it was just hearsay. But it was more than once that Brandon had found Diego and threatened him. Like, flashing a gun at Diego. Just after the party incident where Brandon had a gun pulled on him by an unnamed person in Diego's family. So, I mean, that multiple instances possibly of Brandon just keep putting his nose in it, and then him and Veronica just finally, for lack of a better term, pulling the trigger on the whole plan. And Diego, who had a bright future and who was just a kid. I mean, they were all kind of kids. Kids do dumb things. They never, I mean, all of them really never got the chance to get out of, like, the dumb kid phase. And I personally think I was in my dumb kid phase till I was like 25. Like, I was married for years. And I feel like I was in my dumb kid phase until 25, and then I was in my slightly dumb kid phase till almost 30. And I think a lot of people are like that. There's a lot of people who, the choices they make are from the perspective of, I'm invincible, which a lot of people have that until you start waking up every morning hurting because you slept on your neck wrong or whatever. You have this feeling like, oh, I can do whatever I want, I'm invincible, nothing was going to happen. You don't think about the things that could happen to you. You don't, like, until your friends start getting sick with serious illnesses and cancers and all that stuff, you feel kind of invincible because death is removed from you and you think, oh, I have time. And it's in those cases, and I think that's what happened partially in this case, is you have people thinking, they're on top of the world, they can get away with whatever they want. Like, if they think that they need to do something, then that's what they need to do. Like, regardless of who it hurts, regardless of consequences. So, it's just kind of a reminder, I guess, that sometimes we just need to take a step back and think about things. And even if someone has hurt us bad, that there's still a line that we need to draw in the sand. It's like, yeah, crap talk them all you want, be a jerk to them, whatever, but some things you can't take back. And Veronica and Brandon found that out the hard way. And because of that, the Gonzalez family is without their son. And he never got to experience anything past high school. And if you're like me, we're circling back down to high school. Yeah, there were some fun times, there were some cool times, but for the most part, it was just high school. I mean, there's way more important things, there's way better things, there's, like, if high school was the best part of your life so far, like, get a hobby, do something, anything. Especially if you're, like, if over 30 or whatever, like, you need to find a hobby, you need to find something else. But that's it for this one. This is my first one. I hope I didn't sound like too much of a rambling. So, yeah. Thanks for joining in. Like and subscribe. If you haven't, go listen to the episode so you'll actually know what I'm talking about. Almost Fiction. I'm trying to drop episodes every Tuesday on the paid feed. So if you're part of 1159 Media, you can get Almost Fiction early and ad-free. And then Wednesdays, I'm trying to get out each episode of Almost Fiction. Also, if you haven't listened to my other podcast, Tethers, go check out Tethers. And check out all things 1159. We have True Crime Kent, 911 Calls podcast. We are just going to be releasing a new podcast soon called Guestnicity, so you need to check that out. Just check it out. Come say hi. Drop a comment. What? Like and subscribe. I don't know. I'm not a YouTube person, but I guess I am now. And come back, see more of the inside of my wonderful closet with all my winter jackets and spare headphones and little stabby guys. Whatever these things are called again. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back soon.